What would you do if standing up for who you are meant challenging everything around you? When Jaden Turner moved to a new school, he hoped to make friends, play basketball, and fit in. But things took an unexpected turn when his coach gave him an ultimatum. Cut his locks a part of his identity or lose his place on the team. What started as a battle over a hairstyle quickly became a fight for respect, unity, and change. This is the story of how one boy's courage inspired a school, rallied a community, and sparked a movement. Stay tuned to discover how Jaden's journey unfolds and the surprising turn it takes when he refuses to back down. If stories of resilience and empowerment move you, hit that subscribe button now and share where you're watching from in the comments below. Your voice matters just like Jaden's did. Now, let's dive into this unforgettable story. Jaden Turner tightened the straps of his backpack as he stood in front of Valley Creek Middle School, a building much larger than the one he had left behind in the city. Its clean, modern facade gleamed under the mid-morning sun, but the sight didn't comfort him. His palms were sweaty, his heart a drumbeat in his chest. He glanced at his mother, Ava, who offered him an encouraging smile. "You've got this, sweetheart," she said, resting a hand on his shoulder. "Just be yourself, okay? You're more than enough." Jaden nodded, though her words did little to ease the knot of anxiety in his stomach. The move to this quiet suburban town had been sudden, driven by Ava's new nursing position. His dad, Marcus, had stayed behind to wrap up his commitments as a community leader, but promised to join them soon. Walking through the school's glass doors, Jaden was immediately engulfed by the chaos of first-day energy. Lockers slamming, laughter bouncing off the walls, and the buzz of new beginnings. Despite the noise, he felt out of place. He could feel eyes on him, lingering a beat too long on his hair, thick locks tied neatly back, a symbol of his culture and family pride. He kept his head high, repeating his mother's words in his mind. "You're more than enough." Mrs. Willard, his homeroom teacher, greeted him with a polite smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Class, this is Jaden Turner," she announced. "He's new, so let's make him feel welcome." The murmurs were subtle, but audible enough to make Jaden's neck flush. He took the seat Mrs. Willard indicated at the back of the room. Whispers tickled the air around him, their words indistinct, but their meaning clear. "Who's the new kid?" As class progressed, Jaden found it difficult to concentrate. His thoughts drifted to his old school, where he never had to worry about standing out. There, kids of all backgrounds wore their identities proudly: afros, braids, locks, and everything in between. Here, he felt like a single thread in a blank tapestry. At lunch, Jaden wandered into the cafeteria, scanning for a welcoming face. Relief washed over him when a girl waved him over. "Hey, I'm Emily," she said brightly, sliding her tray aside to make room for him. "This is Ethan." Ethan, a quiet boy with glasses, nodded shyly. "Hi." Jaden offered a small smile. "Thanks for letting me sit with you." The conversation flowed easily. Emily asked about his old school, and Ethan chimed in with a few questions about his favorite basketball players. For a moment, Jaden felt a flicker of hope. That hope dimmed when a voice cut through their laughter. "Nice hair," sneered a boy from a nearby table. "Trying to be a rapper or something?" Jaden froze, the words hitting like a gut punch. The boy's friends chuckled, their snickers sharp and grating. "Ignore him," Emily said softly, her tone laced with annoyance. "That's Ryan. He's just a jerk." Jaden clenched his fists under the table, heat rising in his chest. He wanted to respond, to say something that would shut Ryan up for good, but he didn't want to cause a scene. Instead, he forced himself to breathe and focus on Emily and Ethan's chatter. Jaden's excitement for basketball tryouts later that week helped distract him from the uneasy start. Basketball had always been his escape, the place where he felt most alive. When he arrived at the gym, he was greeted by Coach Greg Miller, a tall, broad-shouldered man with a commanding presence. Coach Miller's piercing blue eyes swept over the group of hopefuls before landing on Jaden. "You're the new kid," Coach Miller said, his voice gruff. "Yes, sir," Jaden replied, standing tall. Coach Miller's gaze lingered on Jaden's locks for a moment before he turned his attention to the clipboard in his hands. "All right, let's see what you've got." Jaden poured his heart into every drill, pushing himself to be faster, sharper, stronger. He sank shot after shot, the ball slicing through the air like it was born to fly. He could feel the other players watching, some with grudging respect, others with poorly hidden skepticism. When the tryouts ended, Coach Miller called Jaden aside. "You've got talent, kid," he said, his tone unreadable. "But if you're going to be on my team, you've got to look the part. We have standards here, no distractions." Jaden stared at him, the implication clear. That night, Jaden replayed the coach's words in his mind. No distractions. His locks, a connection to his roots and his dad's unwavering pride in their heritage, were now being labeled as unprofessional. When Ava asked how tryouts went, Jaden hesitated. "It was fine," he mumbled. Ava frowned, sensing his unease, but didn't press him. In his room, Jaden picked up a framed photo of his family from his nightstand. His dad had always said, "Your hair tells your story, son. Don't ever let anyone take that from you." But here he was questioning whether it was worth holding on to that story if it meant standing out even more. At school the next day, Jaden avoided Coach Miller's gaze during gym class. Emily and Ethan noticed his silence, their concern evident. "You okay?" Ethan asked. Jaden shrugged. "Yeah, just thinking." When practice rolled around, Coach Miller's eyes narrowed as he spotted Jaden's locks still intact. He didn't say anything, but his displeasure hung in the air like a storm cloud. By the end of practice, Jaden was exhausted not just physically, but emotionally. He couldn't shake the feeling that no matter how hard he worked, it wouldn't be enough to erase the judgment he saw in Coach Miller's eyes. That weekend, Jaden finally opened up to Ava. "Coach wants me to cut my hair," he said quietly, his voice heavy with frustration. Ava's expression hardened. "What? That's ridiculous. Your hair has nothing to do with your ability to play basketball." Jaden nodded, but the weight of the ultimatum still pressed down on him. "You don't have to change who you are, Jaden," Ava continued. "Not for him. Not for anyone. Your dad and I raised you to be proud of yourself, exactly as you are." Her words reignited a flicker of resolve in Jaden. He wasn't sure how he would handle Coach Miller, but he knew one thing. He wasn't ready to give up a piece of himself to fit someone else's mold. The Monday after practice, Jaden walked into the gym determined to ignore the unease growing inside him. He loved basketball too much to let Coach Miller's remarks shake him. As warm-ups began, he focused on his drills, blocking out everything else. Coach Miller, clipboard in hand, paced the sidelines. "Focus, team," he barked, his sharp tone echoing across the gym. When his gaze landed on Jaden, his expression hardened. "Turn her over here," he called. Jaden jogged over, gripping the basketball tighter than necessary. "Did I stutter last week?" Coach Miller asked, his voice low enough that the other players couldn't hear. Jaden hesitated. "No, sir." "Then why do you still have this?" Coach gestured toward Jaden's locks, his tone dripping with disapproval. Jaden's stomach churned. "It doesn't affect how I play," he replied, keeping his voice steady. Coach Miller's jaw tightened. "It affects team cohesion. I don't need distractions out there. You got until Friday to fix this. Am I clear?" Jaden nodded, swallowing the words he wanted to say. The ultimatum weighed heavily on Jaden. He avoided Emily and Ethan during lunch, too ashamed to admit what was happening. But Emily noticed his absence and found him in the library. "What's going on?" she asked, sitting across from him. Jaden hesitated before blurting it out. "Coach wants me to cut my locks. Says they're a distraction." Emily's eyes widened in disbelief. "That's ridiculous. Your hair is part of who you are." Jaden nodded but sighed. "I don't want to cause trouble. I just want to play basketball." "Standing up for yourself isn't causing trouble," Emily insisted. "Coach Miller is wrong, and you shouldn't have to change to make him comfortable." Ethan, who had quietly joined them, added, "We've got your back. Whatever you decide." As Friday approached, Jaden's anxiety mounted. Practice had become a minefield of stares and whispers. Ryan, the same boy who had mocked him at lunch, had taken to making snide comments under his breath. "Better listen to the coach," Ryan sneered during a water break. "Don't want to be benched, do you?" Jaden gritted his teeth, refusing to give Ryan the satisfaction of a reaction. The night before the game, Ava found Jaden sitting on his bed, staring at a pair of scissors in his hands. "You don't have to do this," she said, sitting beside him. Jaden looked up, his eyes filled with frustration. But what if I don't? What if he benches me? Basketball is my thing, Mom. Without it, I don't know who I am here. Ava placed a hand on his shoulder. Basketball is what you do, Jaden. It's not who you are. Don't let anyone make you feel like you have to change yourself to belong. Friday's practice was grueling. Coach Miller pushed the team harder than ever, his eyes often darting toward Jaden as if daring him to challenge the unspoken rule. When practice ended, Coach called the team to the center of the court. Tomorrow's game is a big one, he announced. I expect every player to show up ready to represent this school with discipline, professionalism, and unity. His eyes locked on Jaden. The message was clear. After practice, Jaden stayed behind, running drills alone. The rhythmic bounce of the ball echoed in the empty gym, each sound amplifying his frustration. Hey! Jaden turned to see Emily and Ethan standing by the bleachers. You're not alone in this, Emily said firmly. You don't have to fight him by yourself. Jaden's chest tightened, gratitude mixing with a renewed sense of determination. When Jaden arrived at the gym the next morning, his locks were tied back as always. Coach Miller's scowl deepened when he saw him. You're not playing today, Coach said, his voice flat. Jaden's heart sank. What? Why? I gave you a chance to meet our standards, Coach replied, his tone laced with disdain. You chose not to. The team stood silently, their expressions a mix of confusion and discomfort. Jaden felt the sting of humiliation as he turned and walked out of the gym, his head held high despite the lump in his throat. News of Jaden's benching spread quickly. Emily and Ethan rallied their classmates, sharing the story through social media and urging others to stand with Jaden. The response was overwhelming. By Monday, students began showing up with hairstyles that celebrated their heritage: braids, afros, locks, and more. The principal called Jaden into her office. I've heard about what's been going on, she said carefully. Is there anything you'd like to share? Jaden hesitated. Coach says my hair is a distraction, he finally said. But it's not. It's part of who I am. The principal frowned. I'll look into this. In the meantime, thank you for speaking up. Coach Miller doubled down, dismissing the students' solidarity as attention-seeking. But the protests only grew louder. Parents began calling the school, demanding answers. Jaden's dad, Marcus, arrived that evening. We're not letting this slide, he told Jaden firmly. Together, they reached out to local activists and a civil rights lawyer, building a case against the school's discriminatory practices. By the end of the week, dozens of students and parents gathered outside the school gym, holding signs that read, Our hair, our identity, and respect diversity. The local news picked up the story, broadcasting Jaden's courageous stand. Coach Miller's behavior was put under scrutiny, and the school board was forced to address the issue. Jaden, standing with his friends and family, felt a surge of hope as the crowd chanted in unison. For the first time since moving to Valley Creek, he felt like he belonged, not just as a basketball player, but as himself. Jaden stood in the crowd of protesters outside Valley Creek Middle School, his heart pounding as chants of respect our identity filled the air. He hadn't expected this, so many students, parents, and even teachers standing alongside him. Signs bobbed above the sea of heads, their bold messages clear. Diversity is strength, and our hair, our pride. Emily stepped up beside him, holding a megaphone. Jaden, do you want to say something? Jaden hesitated. Public speaking wasn't his strength, and the thought of all those eyes on him made his stomach churn. But then he thought about everything he'd endured: Coach Miller's words, the humiliation of being benched, the sense of being unwelcome. He took the megaphone. I never wanted to be the center of attention, he began, his voice shaky but growing stronger. I just wanted to play basketball. But when someone tries to take away a part of who you are, that's not something you can ignore. My hair isn't just hair. It's a part of my family, my culture, my identity, and no one should have to give that up to fit in. The crowd erupted into cheers, their support bolstering Jaden's confidence. The school board scheduled an emergency meeting to address the growing controversy. Jaden's father, Marcus, arrived in a crisp suit, his commanding presence filling the room. He held Jaden's hand tightly as they walked to the front of the packed auditorium. The meeting began with the principal reading a carefully worded statement. The school values diversity and inclusion. We take these concerns seriously and are conducting a thorough review of the events in question. Marcus stood, his voice calm but firm. This isn't just about policy. It's about my son being treated with respect. Coach Miller's actions were not only discriminatory, but humiliating. We demand accountability. As Marcus spoke, Jaden glanced around the room. He saw parents nodding in agreement, teachers looking uncomfortable, and Coach Miller sitting stiffly in the corner. When it was Jaden's turn to speak, he stepped up to the microphone. "I love basketball," he began, "but I also love who I am. No one should have to choose between the two. All I want is to be treated fairly like every other kid in this school." The board promised to investigate, but tensions in the community deepened. Supporters of Coach Miller argued that he was just enforcing discipline, while others rallied behind Jaden, insisting that the school needed to change. Jaden's classmates continued to show solidarity, with more students wearing hairstyles that celebrated their heritage. Ryan, however, remained vocal in his opposition. "Why does everything have to be about him?" Ryan muttered in the hallway one day. "It's just hair." Jaden turned to face him, his voice steady. "If it's just hair, then why does it bother you so much?" Ryan had no answer. As the story spread, local news stations picked up the story. Reporters gathered outside the school, eager to interview Jaden and his family. Marcus used the opportunity to highlight the broader issue of discrimination in schools. "Jaden's story is one of many," Marcus told a reporter. "This isn't just about a basketball team. It's about creating an environment where all students feel valued and respected." The media attention brought both support and criticism. Some viewers applauded Jaden's bravery, while others accused the family of blowing things out of proportion. Jaden struggled with the added scrutiny, but found strength in the messages of encouragement pouring in from around the country. Despite the ongoing controversy, Coach Miller continued to hold practices. When Jaden attended, determined not to let the coach intimidate him, the tension was palpable. During a particularly intense drill, Jaden stumbled, and Coach Miller's frustration boiled over. "Maybe if you spent less time worrying about your image and more time practicing, you'd actually be worth something on this court," Coach snapped. Jaden froze, the words cutting deeper than any physical injury. For a moment, the gym fell silent, the other players staring at the ground. "I'm done," Jaden said quietly, dropping the ball and walking out. That evening, Jaden sat on the couch, feeling the weight of everything crashing down on him. "You don't have to go back there," Marcus said firmly. "We'll fight this another way." He reached out to a civil rights lawyer, who agreed to take on the case. Together, they drafted a formal complaint against the school, citing discriminatory practices and emotional harm. Marcus also organized a town hall meeting, inviting parents, students, and community leaders to discuss the issue. The auditorium buzzed with energy as the town hall began. Marcus opened with a passionate speech about the importance of cultural expression and the harm caused by prejudice. One by one, attendees shared their own experiences with discrimination, their voices blending into a powerful chorus of resilience and demand for change. When it was Jaden's turn to speak, he stepped up to the podium. "I didn't ask for this fight," he said, "but now that it's here, I'm not backing down. This isn't just about me. It's about making sure no one else has to go through this." The room erupted in applause, the community's support tangible. The next day, the school board announced that Coach Miller had been placed on administrative leave pending the investigation. While it wasn't the complete victory Jaden and his family hoped for, it was a step in the right direction. Jaden's classmates greeted him with cheers when he walked into school. Emily and Ethan were waiting by his locker, their faces bright with pride. "You did it," Ethan said. "We all did it," Jaden replied, a small smile breaking through the weight of the past few weeks. With Coach Miller temporarily gone, Jaden felt some of the pressure lift. But he knew the fight wasn't over. His family and the community continued to push for permanent changes to the school's policies, ensuring no other student would face what he had. Late one evening, Jaden sat at his desk, writing in his journal. The words came slowly at first, but soon they flowed. "I didn't think I was strong enough for this, but I am, and I'll keep fighting not just for me, but for everyone who's been told they're not enough." In the days following Coach Miller's suspension, The energy at Valley Creek Middle School shifted. Students walked through the halls with newfound pride, wearing their cultural expressions boldly. Jaden noticed more students with braids, locks, afros, and other diverse hairstyles, a quiet but powerful show of solidarity. Jaden's father, Marcus, worked tirelessly, coordinating with civil rights organizations and rallying community leaders to support policy reforms at the school. The local media continued covering the story, keeping the pressure on the administration to act decisively. Emily and Ethan, always by Jaden's side, had taken on leadership roles among the student body. They organized a petition demanding permanent changes, including diversity, training for staff, and protections for cultural expression. Over 300 signatures so far, Emily told Jaden one afternoon. "We're not stopping until they listen." Jaden and Marcus were called to a meeting with the school principal, Mrs. Holloway. She greeted them with a tense smile, a folder of documents neatly stacked on her desk. "Mr. Turner," Jaden, she began, folding her hands. "Let me start by saying that we deeply regret how this situation has unfolded. We're working to address the concerns raised." Marcus's expression remained calm but firm. "This isn't about regret, Mrs. Holloway. It's about action. Words won't undo the harm done to my son or others who've faced similar treatment." Jaden spoke up, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. "I just want to play basketball and feel like I belong here without having to change who I am." The principal nodded. "We're reviewing our policies and consulting with experts to ensure a more inclusive environment moving forward." Marcus leaned forward. "We'll hold you to that." That weekend, a rally was held in the town square, drawing a diverse crowd of students, parents, and local leaders. The event, organized by Marcus and several community groups, aimed to raise awareness and demand lasting change. Jaden stood on the small stage, his heart racing as he looked out over the sea of faces. Holding the microphone tightly, he spoke from the heart. "I've learned a lot over the past few weeks," he began. "About courage, about standing up for what's right, and about how powerful we can be when we come together. This isn't just about me. It's about making sure no one else feels like they have to hide who they are." The crowd erupted into applause, their cheers filling the crisp evening air. Jaden stepped back, feeling a mixture of relief and pride. The following week, the school board announced the findings of their investigation. In a public statement, they acknowledged that Coach Miller's actions were inappropriate and violated the school's commitment to fostering an inclusive environment. "We have decided to terminate Coach Miller's employment effective immediately," the board president announced at a press conference. "Additionally, we are implementing mandatory cultural awareness training for all staff and revising our policies to better protect students' rights." Jaden and Marcus watched the announcement together at home. Marcus placed a hand on Jaden's shoulder. "You did this, son. Your courage made this happen." Jaden nodded, a lump forming in his throat. It wasn't just relief, he felt it was a sense of justice, a validation of everything he had endured. Returning to school after the announcement, Jaden was met with smiles, high fives, and pats on the back. Emily and Ethan greeted him at his locker, their grins wide. "You're officially a hero," Ethan said, nudging him playfully. "Not just me," Jaden replied. "We all made this happen." The basketball team held its first practice with a new interim coach, Mr. Daniels, who emphasized teamwork and respect. Jaden felt a weight lift as he ran drills, no longer under the critical eye of Coach Miller. For the first time in weeks, basketball felt like a refuge again. The school began rolling out new initiatives, including a diversity and inclusion task force that included students, parents, and teachers. Jaden was invited to join as a student representative. At the first meeting, he shared his story, emphasizing the importance of representation and respect. His words inspired others to speak up, transforming the room into a space of shared understanding and commitment. "I'm proud of you," Ava told him that evening. "You turned something painful into something powerful." As the school year progressed, the changes became more visible. Posters promoting diversity adorned the walls. Teachers incorporated cultural discussions into their lessons, and the administration launched a mentorship program to support students from underrepresented backgrounds. Jaden continued to excel on the basketball court, earning the respect of his teammates and becoming a leader both on and off the court. During a school assembly, Mrs. Holloway announced that a new elective course on cultural diversity would be offered the following year. "It's called the Jaden Turner Initiative," she said, her gaze landing on Jaden. The auditorium erupted into applause, and Jaden felt his cheeks warm with pride. On a quiet afternoon, Jaden sat on the bleachers after practice, watching the sunset cast golden light across the gym. Emily and Ethan joined him, their laughter echoing in the empty space. "Think you'll ever miss being just the new kid?" Emily teased. Jaden laughed. "Not a chance. I like being me." They sat in comfortable silence, the weight of the past weeks finally beginning to fade. Jaden knew the fight wasn't over. There was always more work to be done. But for now, he felt at peace, knowing he had made a difference. Jaden walked through the halls of Valley Creek Middle School, feeling a sense of calm he hadn't known since arriving. The whispers and stares had been replaced by friendly greetings and nods of respect. Students wore hairstyles celebrating their heritage without fear, and the school's atmosphere felt noticeably lighter. In his first Diversity and Inclusion Task Force meeting, Jaden listened as other students shared their experiences. One girl spoke about how she'd hidden her natural hair under a straightened wig for fear of being judged. "Your story gave me the courage to stop hiding," she said, smiling at Jaden. Her words filled him with pride. He realized that his journey had become more than just about basketball or his own struggles. It was about creating a space where everyone could feel seen and valued. As the school year drew to a close, the administration hosted a special assembly to highlight the changes inspired by Jaden's story. Mrs. Holloway stood at the podium, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. "Today, we celebrate the courage it takes to stand up for what's right." Jaden Turner reminded us all that every student deserves respect and dignity. Jaden was called to the stage, where he received a plaque honoring his contributions to the school community. The audience erupted into applause, and Jaden spotted his parents in the crowd, their faces glowing with pride. Afterward, Marcus pulled Jaden into a tight hug. "You turned a moment of pain into something powerful," he said. "Never forget how much strength that took." The basketball team made it to the regional championship, and Jaden, now a starter, felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. The game was close, each point hard-earned. With seconds left on the clock, the ball landed in Jaden's hands. He dribbled past two defenders, leaped, and sank a clean three-pointer just as the buzzer sounded. The gym erupted in cheers as his teammates rushed to lift him onto their shoulders. For Jaden, the victory was about more than just basketball. It was a symbol of how far he'd come. Over the summer, the school began implementing the changes Marcus and the community had fought for. Teachers attended cultural awareness workshops, and the new diversity course became one of the most popular electives. Jaden was invited to help design the curriculum, working with educators to ensure it reflected real experiences and challenges. He poured his heart into the project, determined to make it meaningful for future students. One day, as Jaden walked through the school with Ethan and Emily, they paused to admire a mural that students had painted in the courtyard. It depicted children of diverse backgrounds holding hands beneath the words, "Our differences make us stronger." "That's pretty awesome," Ethan said. "Yeah," Jaden replied, smiling. "It really is." On a quiet evening at home, Jaden sat at his desk, writing an essay for the school newspaper. Titled "Finding Strength in the Struggle," the piece detailed his journey, from the initial humiliation to the unity and change that followed. When it was published, students and teachers alike praised Jaden for his honesty and vulnerability. Messages poured in from readers, thanking him for sharing his story and inspiring others to embrace their identities. One note, written by a younger student, read, "Because of you, I don't feel scared to be myself anymore." Jaden kept the note pinned to his wall, a reminder of why his fight had mattered. As the new school year began, Jaden was invited to speak at a community event focused on fostering inclusion in schools. Standing at the podium, he felt a familiar wave of nerves, but also a growing sense of purpose. "I've learned that change isn't easy," he said, addressing the crowd. "But it starts with believing that your voice matters. When we stand together, We can create a world where everyone feels valued." The audience gave him a standing ovation, and Jaden stepped off the stage, his heart swelling with pride. The new Cultural Diversity course was officially named the Jaden Turner Initiative. On the first day of class, Jaden visited to share his story with the students. "Your identity is your strength," he told them. "Don't ever let anyone make you feel like you have to change to belong." The students listened intently, their eyes wide with admiration. Jaden could see the impact his words were having, and it gave him a deep sense of fulfillment. On the last day of school, Jaden walked through the halls, reflecting on how much had changed. The banners promoting diversity and inclusion were a stark contrast to the school he had first entered. Emily and Ethan joined him at the front steps, their laughter echoing as they reminisced about the past year. "You've got your own course named after you now," Emily teased. "What's next?" "The Jaden Turner Scholarship." "Hey, I like the sound of that," Jaden said, grinning. As he stepped out into the summer sun, Jaden felt a sense of closure. He had come to Valley Creek as an outsider, but now he was leaving as someone who had made a lasting difference. The journey hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. And as Jaden looked toward the future, he knew he would carry the lessons he'd learned with him, lessons of resilience, community, and the power of standing up for what's right. Years later, Jaden returned to Valley Creek as a guest speaker at the school's annual Diversity Day. The auditorium was packed with students eager to hear from the boy whose courage had transformed their community. Standing on the stage, Jaden spoke with confidence and warmth, sharing his journey and encouraging others to embrace their unique identities. When he finished, the room erupted into applause, and Jaden felt a profound sense of peace. His story had become a part of the school's fabric, a testament to the power of standing firm in the face of adversity. As he walked through the halls one last time, he saw students laughing, learning, and celebrating their differences. And Jaden knew that he had helped pave the way for them to do so freely and proudly. Years later, Jaden returned to Valley Creek as a guest speaker at the school's annual Diversity Day. The auditorium was packed with students eager to hear from the boy whose courage had transformed their community. Standing on the stage, Jaden spoke with confidence and warmth, sharing his journey and encouraging others to embrace their unique identities. "Change doesn't come easy," he said, his voice steady. "But when you stand up for what's right, when you find the courage to be yourself, you can inspire others to do the same. And together, we can build something truly powerful." When he finished, the room erupted into applause, and Jaden felt a profound sense of peace. His story had become a part of the school's fabric, a testament to the power of standing firm in the face of adversity. As he walked through the halls one last time, he saw students laughing, learning, and celebrating their differences. And Jaden knew that he had helped pave the way for them to do so freely and proudly. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If Jaden's journey inspired you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss another story like this one. Let us know in the comments where you're reading from, and check out our channel for more uplifting and powerful tales of resilience and change. Together, we can keep spreading these messages of hope and strength.